Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 16 Plus and compare it against the iPhone 11 and see which particular phone is a better one for you. Now, when it comes down to both of these, what I'll definitely tell you is that I don't really think you can, look at both of these and kind of see some similarity. The iPhone 16 Plus is a significantly better phone in almost every single way than the iPhone 11. Now, I love the iPhone 11. I loved it when it first came out, but I do think if you have the option of going up to the 16 Plus, it's a very big upgrade. But there are lots and lots of phones in between these two that I would also recommend a lot of people to go and buy as well. So we'll go and take a look at all those things throughout this whole entire video. But number one, if you do want to go and pick up either one of these devices or any of the phones I talk about for the cheapest prices I find, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these devices, a very, very big thing to keep in mind is that the iPhone 11 came out 5 years ago. So it's a 5-year-old phone, so you kind of have to go with that process throughout this whole video. The iPhone 11 has a 6.1-inch liquid retina IPS panel on it. Now, it's a good looking panel, it's definitely not ugly. And like I said before, if you are going to go ahead and pick up a device, it's a great looking phone for how old it is. Now, it is an IPS panel, so that is kind of a downside. It's also only 750p, so it's not the highest resolution of all time, and it's not the brightest panel of all time either. And it has a notch, and it's kind of outdated, but it was a phone that came out 5 years ago, so we can kind of cut it some slack. With the iPhone 16 Plus, this is a better panel. It's a 6.7-inch, bigger size, Super Retina XDR OLED display. Now, I like this panel a lot. It's a way better panel than the iPhone 11. You're getting a dynamic island, thinner bezel around it, it's a brighter display as well, and it's a bigger size phone. However, I do have a problem with the 16 Plus, and that is that it has a 60 Hz panel on it. The iPhone 11 5 years ago has a 60 Hz panel, it's totally understandable. But the iPhone 16 Plus for it having a 60 Hz panel makes no sense, and I genuinely do feel like that was kind of a downside for that type of phone. So personally for me, once again, I'm going to go through and pick up a device that is kind of a downside for that type of device. So that kind of, covers it up from there. On the sides, you're getting a curved side on the iPhone 11, we're getting flat sides on the iPhone 16 Plus. So that right there is kind of an advantage for the iPhone 16 Plus. It is a way more modern looking and feeling phone, but the iPhone 11 still feels fairly expensive. These two phones are built almost the same way. A big upgrade though is that the 16 Plus is giving you that USB Type-C port. That is a massive sized upgrade. I love having USB Type-C, and you are getting that type of upgrade with the iPhone 16 Plus coming from the iPhone 11. Now the iPhone 16 Plus is also giving you the action button and the camera button. Not the biggest features for me personally, but it is again a nice thing to have here. Now on the back side, dual camera setups on both. You're getting a frosted glass back on the back of the iPhone 16 Plus, whereas on the iPhone 11, you're getting that standard glass back. So once again, this in and of itself is another pretty big upgrade. Going from a standard glass back to a frosted glass back means that that phone is going to feel just so much better when it kind of comes down to it. On top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is that with the iPhone 16 Plus, that type of device is also pretty much going to be giving you a pretty good experience when it comes down to the overall build quality. It's going to be giving you MagSafe capability, IP certification, all that stuff. So that is kind of a big thing to kind of keep in mind there as well. But the biggest thing to kind of keep in mind, I guess, when it comes down to everything is that with something like the iPhone 16 Plus, it's a more expensive phone. That phone costs $899. Whereas on the iPhone 11, that phone does not cost you that much at all. It costs you probably around less than $200 probably for a lot of people. So when it kind of comes down to that stuff, I definitely will tell you, a phone like the iPhone 16 Plus is a way better device in almost every single way than something like the iPhone 11. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. Now when it comes down to the camera side, like I mentioned before, both of these phones are going to be giving you dual camera setups. So they're both giving you wide and ultra wide cameras. So this is something that's kind of nice. Once again, being able to go through and buy a phone like the iPhone 16 Plus, that's going to be giving you the same type of camera as the iPhone 11 is kind of interesting, but it's the same layout. The iPhone 16 Plus's camera is way better. For starters, you're getting twice the amount of zooming in on the iPhone 16 Plus than the iPhone 11. So that right there is a very big asset. On top of that, you're getting the same video resolutions. You can film in 4K at 60, but you are getting more camera features. Things like cinematic mode, better portrait mode, better, filming, just everything across the board is going to be better on something like the Samsung Galaxy, on something like the iPhone 16 Plus. But I would still say the iPhone 11's camera is good for a 5-year-old phone, but it's not good for today's standards. The big thing that both these phones are missing out on are telephoto lenses, But that is why I like the 16 Plus a lot more here, is because that camera already gives you 10x zoom, which I think is very nice. It's 2x zoom, but you can zoom in theoretically like 10 times. And that is a super nice thing to have on that type of device. So if I'm going to go through and pick up a phone, definitely I'm looking at something like the iPhone 16 Plus as being a significantly better device here in almost every single way I can imagine than the iPhone 11, especially when it comes down to that camera standpoint. But even when it comes down to software longevity, this is another very big asset for the iPhone 16 Plus. That type of device on the iPhone 16 Plus is going to be giving you such a long-lasting phone, it's like not even funny at all. The 16 Plus, not only is it going to be here for the next couple of years, it's probably going to be here so long that a majority of people aren't even going to be using that phone anymore when it's done getting software. To be honest, I mean, the iPhone 11, you could say the same thing. That phone came out 5 years ago. I don't really see too many iPhone 11s in the market anymore, but that is a very big asset for something like the iPhone 16 Plus. On top of that, in terms of which one's going to last longer in terms of battery, the iPhone 11, Apple states on their website, that phone was giving you 17 hours of video playback. The iPhone 16 Plus, they rated at 27 hours of video playback. So this right there is another very, very big asset. Being able to go through and buy a phone like the iPhone 16 Plus, that's essentially going to be giving you that type of capability, is so much better than the iPhone 11. And like I said, I just love having that type of capability when it comes down to it, especially from a performance side. I could just keep going with this all day. From a performance side, the iPhone 11 is giving you that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 16 Plus is giving you that Apple A18 chipset inside of it with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So this right there is another very big asset for that type of device. Being able to go through and buy a phone like the iPhone 16 Plus that's going to be significantly faster than the iPhone 11 is a super cool thing. But I do think the iPhone 11 is still good enough for the most part, right? Like if you have to go through and use a phone, it's definitely not terrible. It is older, it is glitchier, and when you're on iOS 18, it definitely is not the strongest, fastest experience of all time. But I do think if, like I said before, if you are going to go through and pick up a phone, it's definitely not a terrible performing device. And I do think if you're going to use a phone, this in and of itself is a super nice thing going on for that type of device too, because it's old, but it's cheap and it's a functional phone. I think with the 16 Plus, this type of device is also very, very nice. Like it's a much better phone than the iPhone, 11 for sure. But this is the thing we're kind of doing here, right? We're comparing a 5-year-old phone against the newest phone. But I think a closer thing is to understand how much improvement has happened, but to also understand you don't have to go from an iPhone 11 to the 16 Plus. These aren't your only two choices. There are so many phones in between that I would also recommend buying. I mean, a phone like the iPhone 14 Plus is still a massive upgrade coming from the iPhone 11, and that phone is hundreds of dollars cheaper than the iPhone 16 Plus. But especially in the used market, if you're going from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 13 Pro, that is a massive, massive upgrade. An iPhone 11 to an iPhone 14 Pro is an even bigger upgrade. But even an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 13, iPhone 11 to an iPhone 14, those are also very big upgrades. So you don't have to spend $998 or $899 on the 16 Plus. You can buy a phone in between, like an iPhone 14 Pro or 13 Pro or 13 or 14, and still get a massive, massive upgrade when it comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.